It's just if there's a will, there's a way, and I just wanted to win more than they did, so I was going to do anything possible to make it happen.
That was UH quarterback Clayton Tune after leading his team to a dramatic win in their season opener, 37-35 in triple overtime inside the Alamo Dome as the Cougs take down UTSA. Good evening, everyone. Welcome once again to the Fox 26 Sports Stream. As always, I'm Sal Manine, sports producer here at Fox 26. It is officially football season. From here on out, all the games being played at the collegiate and pro level actually count. We'll get into U of H and that thriller against the Roadrunners as things get moving along. We'll also, of course, talk Texans as they were back at it this morning on the practice field, getting set for what is less than a week away, their season opener inside NRG Stadium against a divisional opponent. They will host the Indianapolis Colts on Sunday afternoon. We will hear from head coach Lovie Smith. We'll, of course, check in on the Astros, who are in action right now at Minute Maid Park, taking on the Texas Rangers as the injuries continue to pile up for Houston, yet they continue to keep on winning. And thanks to the brilliant start to the year that they've had, or I guess you should say really the brilliant year they've had since we're well past the start to the year, thanks to how good they've been playing and how poorly the Yankees have been playing, it seems like it is all but a foregone conclusion now that the Astros have wrapped up home field throughout the American League playoffs. So now it's just a matter of keep everybody healthy, get the guys who are on the mend back and ready to go for October. So we will get into all that as things roll along, and then we'll even head a little bit further up north and check in with the Texas Longhorns, because UT's got a pretty big one this weekend. You can, of course, watch it on Fox 26 when Steve Sarkisian takes on his former boss, Nick Saban, and the top-ranked Alabama Crimson Tide. So we will get into all that as things roll along. Just updating where they are at Minute Maid. It is 1-0 Stros. They are playing in the top of the fourth. Here's what the American League standings looked like entering tonight. As I mentioned, Houston, because they've been playing so well the last several months and the Yankees have been playing so poorly the last several months, they saw their lead over the Bronx Bombers balloon all the way to 6 games. New York's already played today. They played an afternoon matinee. That's why it's 5.5 right now. But if the Astros take care of business tonight, then it'll be back up to 6 games over the Yankees for the best record in the American League, meaning a potential ALCS again would once again be in Minute Maid Park as far as home field advantage, where the Astros have owned everybody, but especially the New York Yankees as of the last few seasons. We should point out tonight is the major league debut for the Astros top prospect in Hunter Brown, who so far is through 3 1/3 innings, only allowed 2 hits, has already struck out 4, and is looking every bit the part of the top-rated prospect that Astros fans expected they would get once the September call-ups happened, and that is, in fact, the case. And he's got a familiar face with him who not only was playing down in Sugarland with the Space Cowboys, but someone who actually joined Hunter Brown at the MLB Futures game during All-Star Weekend, and that's Jainer Diaz has been called up and is serving as the kind of de facto number 3 catcher / first baseman DH. He's on the roster right now, and so that kind of opens things up for Dusty Baker as far as how he wants to deploy Martin Maldonado, Christian Vasquez, if he has to potentially pinch hit for Maldonado late in the games, gives them a number of options since both Vasquez and Jainer Diaz can get behind the plate or even play a little bit of first base if need be. So that's where things stand with the Astros. We will, of course, have all the highlights and reaction for you tonight from Minute Maid Park coming up on Fox 26 News at 9. As for the Texans, I mentioned it is finally game week. They will be taking on the Indianapolis Colts at home on Saturday afternoon. Let's hear from head coach Lovie Smith after this morning's practice, as he and just about everybody else in the city of Houston is ready to finally get things going in games that count.
Excited about, a full stadium here at NRG. It's time for us to do our job now. Playing a good opponent. The Colts have been one of the teams for a while. In the ideal world, you want to start off at home against a division opponent.
So that was Lovie Smith on just the general excitement. But if the Texans are going to have any shot of possibly pulling off the upset at home, everybody knows it starts with slowing down perhaps the number one tailback in the NFL right now, and that is Jonathan Taylor. Lovie was asked about that and the fact that Taylor owned the Texans last season in the two games which the Colts won each time handedly and did not surrender a single touchdown to the Texans. Jonathan Taylor ran for almost 300 total yards, almost 400 total yards. Here's what he had to say about slowing down JT.
Well, we have to stop the run each week, no matter who we're playing. Every NFL team is going to have a, 1 of 32. That's saying an awful lot if you're the starting running back for an NFL team. And for us, Jonathan Taylor is one of the best in the league, kind of simple as that. And so we know the challenge that it faced. But what is it going to take? Gang tackle. We need everybody at the point of attack. Discipline in your gaps. Because if he breaks it, he's faster than most people too. So it'll be a big challenge.
Again, almost 300 total yards. I think I misspoke a moment ago. Almost 300 total yards for Jonathan Taylor in the two contests last year against the Texans. They won 31-3 when they played early in the season in Indianapolis, and then in the game at NRG, 31-0 Colts. Remember, that was one of the last instances that we saw Tyrod Taylor before he officially gave way to Davis Mills. So the Texans are going into this as underdogs, even at home. That's to be understood. Everybody knows that this is a rebuilding year, and even though the AFC South is not the dominant conference or the dominant division in the NFL, the Colts on paper still look to be the strongest, or at least most complete, of the AFC South teams. And don't forget, they dominated the Texans last year with Carson Wentz as their quarterback, and they've upgraded. Even though he may be on the latter part of his career, Matt Ryan certainly a step up from Carson Wentz. So it's going to be difficult for the Texans, and if they want to pull off the upset, it's going to start with Jonathan Taylor, but they certainly have all the motivation after the way things went in those two games last year. Here's Lovie Smith on the fact that a year ago, his team and specifically his defense was dominated by Indianapolis.
We don't run from it at all, John. They dominated us at their place and at home. We do remember that, but talk can't get it done, And a lot of what happened were things we did, all three phases. We feel like we corrected a lot of that. That's why we can't wait to see exactly how far we've come since that day.
So again, it'll be a noon kickoff at NRG between the Texans and the Colts. Start of what is going to be a difficult year in terms of record, in all likelihood, for the Texans. But as we've talked about so much leading up to this season is really going to come down to a lot of, do guys pass the eye test? Are they showing improvement between the beginning of the season and the end? Specifically, so many of the young guys and new faces that the team has brought in are the rookies, like a Derek Stingley Jr., a Dameon Pierce, a Kenyon Green. How quickly do they start to no longer look like rookies? And then how quickly can they start to take that next step to looking like upper level talents at their respective positions? So one of the things we will keep an eye on as this NFL season is finally here. The first game, of course, in the whole league Thursday night, and then the Texans will play their first game of the regular season on Sunday. The college football season is already here. As we heard from Clayton Tune, the senior signal caller for the Cougs, off the top of our stream here. It was a back and forth crazy affair on Saturday inside the Alamo Dome. I was there. Shout out to UTSA for the way they packed that place. I mean, they really made it a difficult environment for the 24th ranked Cougs to have to play. And it really took just about everything that U of H had after falling behind by 2 touchdowns late in the third quarter, needing to generate a turnover on defense, going to overtime. U of H really should have won in regulation. They kicked what was the go-ahead field goal with about 23 seconds left to play in regulation, but then gave up 2 long strikes that allowed UTSA to tie it and force overtime. And remember, there's the new crazy overtime rules. After the first OT, you have to go for 2. Then after 2 overtimes, you don't even do the start at the 25 and try to score. It's everybody starts at the 2 and you just run 2-point conversions. And Clayton Tune put the Cougs on his back in that second half and in overtime, and ended up scoring what turned out to be the game-winning score in triple overtime when he had to scramble out, beat his guy to the edge, and then ended up somersaulting as he was getting hit and helicoptering over the goal line to send the Cougs to 1-0 on the season. Here's what his teammates had to say about that comeback and then finding a way to hang on in triple overtime.
We got a saying, like, if we down, we don't panic. So the whole time we was down, we went in the locker room, came back out, and they even scored again when we came back out. And we were just telling each other, like, don't panic, we good. Like, we're going to make some plays. All we need is one stop, one touchdown, and we back in it. One stop, one touchdown, we back in it. We kept that mindset. We just kept fighting, you know. My teammates, we love to fight for each other, and that's got us where we was.
Survive, just survive. I mean, this is a hard opener, man. I mean, these guys won 12 games. They got everybody back. They're well coached. They got a great atmosphere. What do you want me to say? I mean, this is a quality opponent, and this is a quality win on the road. And these guys are 11-1 here for the last 2 years. So it's a hard one to go win, and our guys found a way to go win it.
And Coach Holgorsen kind of let us under the hood a little bit in the rest of his post-game remarks, explaining some of the mistakes and growing pains that you see in the first game of the year with guys in the wrong spot, running the wrong route. If you watch the game in that second overtime when you have to go for 2, UH scores, and then on their 2-point conversion try, Tank Dell, who you just heard from, made this tremendous grab as he was going out of bounds. Initially, he was ruled out of bounds, but they reviewed it. I was standing right there where he caught the ball, and he did, in fact, get 1 foot in bounds. So it was reversed, turned out to be a good 2-point completion, which the Cougs needed because they ended up going to that third overtime. But Coach Holgorsen said on that play, one of their new receivers, Joseph Manjack IV, one of the big-time transfers from USC, he actually ran the wrong route for what the play was meant to be. And so for Tank Dell to be able to go make that play when there was a whole lot more traffic there, for Clayton Tune to put it in a spot that only his guy could get it or no one was going to get it, is just a testament to the kind of experience that the Cougs have this season. But that's also part of the growing pains when you have such a new team, when so many new faces that are working into the mix in some respects at some spots for U of H. So they're 1-0, as you heard Dana Holgorsen say, just survive and find a way to get it done. And it's not going to get much easier this week as they have to go on the road again. They go to Lubbock to take on Texas Tech on Saturday afternoon, a preview of what's to come when U of H joins the Big 12 next year. Let's get one more in before we shift gears. Let's hear from Clayton Tune on the resiliency of his team and what he was able to do, putting them on his back when they needed it most late in the game on the road against a tough Roadrunners team.
I really feel, this team loves to play for each other. We've spent a lot of time, obviously, at the facility, and, we spent a lot of time outside of the facility where we've grown to bond a lot and build a lot of chemistry. So I think what it comes down to is, our team just loves playing for each other. The last thing we want to do is be the guy that lets the team down, you know what I mean? So you look to your left and your right, and you see guys that you put work in with every day, and you want to make plays for them and win for them.
And you cannot say enough about what Clayton Tune was able to do, especially on the ground. Sometimes it gets overlooked a bit because he plays in an air raid system and typically if you just look at the box score, or certainly his end of year stats, you see how prolific he can be in terms of putting the ball in the air. But he's not a bad athlete, and especially against the Roadrunners, so many times that's what he ended up, just the play broke down, or the receivers were having difficulty getting open downfield. And so he just took off and ran with it. And even without including the heroics that you just saw there in the third overtime, that John Elway-esque helicopter for the 2-point conversion, a lot of times it was just, all right, try to get something, break off some kind of positive yardage, and that's what allowed the Cougs to get things moving as they completed that comeback and moved to 1-0. So that's where U of H stands this week. We also saw a number of other local teams pick up wins. Prairie View with a big win under new head coach Bubba McDowell over their rivals from TSU. Texas A&M took care of business against Sam Houston State despite a lengthy weather delay, and UT moved to 1-0. But everybody in the football world, and especially if you are a football fan in the state of Texas, you know that the first big game you probably had circled on your calendar is this weekend. Again, we will have it for you on Fox 26. Kickoff set for 11 a.m. up at Darrell K. Royal Texas Memorial Stadium when UT hosts number 1 Alabama. I believe the latest line had the Horns as 18-point underdogs. It's the largest home underdog line for UT since at least 1978, when they split up FBS and FCS, 1A and 1AA as they used to call it. So it's going to be a very tall task for UT. As nice as it looks to have a little ranking next to their name, and they've certainly done a very good job recruiting-wise in the early tenure of Steve Sarkisian. This is big boy football. This is SEC football, and even that on a completely different level when you're taking on Alabama. But don't tell that to the players. Here's what they had to say about getting set to take on arguably the top team in the country come Saturday afternoon.
Mouth, and I worry about nothing else. Just hit him in the mouth, and going there, with the mindset of dominance, and I'm listening to him because that's right, that's true.
We going into this game thinking that we want to win. Like losing and drawing ain't on our mind. We thinking, right, we're gonna win this game.
That's the mindset you got to have. Hit them in the mouth, and you're playing to win. But again, it's going to take a lot of growing up quickly for so many of the young guys for the Horns. Some of those names, especially that you just heard there, Bijan Robinson, arguably the top tailback in the entire country. UT has some nice pieces, but so much of what they're doing is about trying to lay the foundation for the future. So that was something that Coach Sarkisian discussed this morning when he met with reporters, was trying to temper expectations a little bit, knowing just how young the Horns are up and down there too deep. So stranger things have certainly happened in the world of college football, but usually folks in the desert have a pretty good idea of what they're doing. And when they put the line at UT more than 2 touchdown dogs on their home turf, that's likely what is going to play out, but we will just have to wait and see. So again, 11 a.m. right here on Fox 26. We will have it all for you. I'll be there on the field, and we will bring you all the post-game reaction from the Horns and the Tide as one of the big games in college football gets underway. And then, of course, Sunday, we will have you covered all day from pregame through postgame for anything you want to know from NRG, as the Texans will open things up against the Indianapolis Colts. All right, before we get out of here, let's check back at Minute Maid, and they are in the top of the 5th right now. Hunter Brown continuing to do anything but pitch like a rookie through 4 1/3. He's yet to give up a run, just 2 hits, no walks right now, still 1-0 Astros. So we will have the latest for you from Minute Maid Park coming up tonight on Fox 26 News at 9. We will also have more from the Texans, including one of the new faces, O.J. Howard, the tight end who was just released by the Buffalo Bills. Of course, was a former first-round pick out of Alabama, played in Tampa Bay for the last 5 seasons, and now is looking to more than likely see some action very early on, probably here in week one, as tight end was a position of need and something that the Texans were looking to build some depth as they enter the regular season. So we will hear from him. And as always, if you want the latest news, updates, scores, anything pertaining to the Houston sports scene, you got to be following our sports director, Mark Berman, on social media. You can find him on Twitter, his handle @MarkBermanFox26. All right, that's going to do it for this installment of the Fox 26 Sports Stream. Again, we do it every Monday night just after 7 o'clock. You can go to our Facebook page. You can go to Twitter. You can go to our homepage, fox26houston.com. And, of course, our YouTube channel. Just search Fox 26 Houston, and you will find our channel there, as we will continue to bring you anything and everything we can pertaining to the Houston sports landscape. For all of us here at Fox 26, I'm Sal Manine. We'll see you again next week. Take care, everyone.